This is one of 3 total Amaranth species, which will be covered in this course. The nickname for this particular species is doormat. This is part 1. In part 2, I will be sharing a mnemonic or memory technique to help you commit to memory the most distinguishing characteristics of this Amaranth plant and its edible parts. Doormat is weedy, it's prostrate, lying flat, trailing on the ground, forms dense mats. Most often found in this circular form, reminds one of a spider's web, which is relevant to part 2 during the mnemonic. You'll typically find these plants or doormats growing to a length of no more than 3 inches tall. Doormat is here in the foreground. They can sprawl up to 4 or 5 feet. The height can sometimes exceed 2.5 up to 3 feet. It has a stout tap root. The flowers are very tiny. They are light green to reddish in color. Neither the male or female flowers have petals. What we see here on this flower are what's called sepals. Definition is in the glossary of terms on survivalplantsmemorycourse.com. Notice the sepals or oblong. The leaves have a very distinct white outline, and they can sometimes be notched here at the tip. The flowers form short clusters. And the flowers form where the leaf stalk or petiole meets the main stem. The sepals I was pointing out earlier are up to 5 in number. Male and female flowers both have 4 or 5 sepals. No petals. The sepals are about 1/8 of an inch long, light green to reddish, like we saw in the earlier slide, oblong to lance shaped. Now, after the flowers are pollinated by the wind, the flowers are replaced by round capsules which hold one seed each. Initially, they are perfectly round and smooth, but after a while, they crack in the middle here to release the seed. The leaves are up to 2 inches long and about half as much wide. They are rounded. They can be slightly notched. Notice the distinct light colored outline of each leaf. They're dark green, hairless, smooth, glossy. The petioles, which actually connect the leaf to the stem, is often pink or red, has somewhat of a reddish tint to it. The leaves are smooth around the edges, or in botany what's referred to as the margins. Notice these very distinct veins. In the mnemonic in part 2, the memory technique, I will be making reference to these parallel veins, very distinct, obvious parallel veins. These are the same parallel veins, but this is a shot of the underside of a leaf, spoon-shaped. The leaves of the doormat are spoon-shaped, and they can also be oar-shaped, like the oars of a rowboat, which will also be referred to in part 2 during the mnemonic. The leaves alternate. They alternate along the stems. They're not parallel. The stems of doormat are a whitish green, to a light red color. The stems are 4 to 5 feet long. They can grow up to about that length. They will not be rooted at the nodes or at the joints. If you find these in the field, you should be able to lift them up from the ground. They should not be rooted into the ground at various intervals. The stems are also very succulent, thick, the seeds are round, the stems also have a waxy coating which is easily rubbed off by your finger. This waxy coating is grayish, bluish, or whitish in color. The seeds are glossy, very tiny. Somewhat flat. All parts of doormat are edible, raw or cooked. This was part 1. In part 2, I will be sharing the memory technique or mnemonic to help you remember the most distinguishing characteristics of doormat. And again, all of this plant is edible, raw or cooked. For methods of preparation, go to survivalplantsmemorycourse.com and find it through the Index of Plants link, the Amaranth B, blitoides. Thank you for watching part 1. Be sure to watch part 2.